Tom and Jerry, SaySay's deadly visit of mass destruction. Introduction. Hello, welcome to another Tom and Jerry story. This is for my friend SaySay. Characters. Grandma is the owner of Thomas and Killer. Thomas is the misbehaving cat. Killer is Grandma's bulldog. Butch is Thomas's best friend. That is all I have to say. Enjoy the goofy story. Plot. It is a peaceful spring day in Utica, New York. Grandma is screaming for Thomas so they can eat dinner. A few seconds later Thomas walks into the kitchen with a hammer. A few seconds later Grandma calls Thomas a bleep. A few seconds later Grandma throws Thomas into the living room. 6 seconds later Grandma slaps Thomas. 1 second later Thomas walks outside. 1 minute later Thomas speeds off with Grandma's Bugatti Chiron. 40 minutes later Thomas walks back into the house with someone. A few seconds later SaySay introduces herself. Grandma hugs SaySay. 3 seconds later Thomas shoots Grandma's rear end for no reason. Grandma yelps in pain. 3 seconds later Killer comes out of nowhere. Thomas and SaySay then run upstairs. 1 second later Grandma painfully slams onto the floor. A few seconds later Thomas and SaySay get into a round of Fortnite. 16 seconds later Thomas gets eliminated from fall damage because he forgot to deploy his parachute. Thomas then punches his TV for no reason. SaySay then runs downstairs. A few seconds later Thomas speeds downstairs. Thomas then asks Grandma for a new TV. Grandma tells Thomas that he is never getting anything ever again. Thomas then grabs a stick of dynamite. 4 seconds later Thomas races upstairs. 42 seconds the entire house shakes. Grandma, SaySay and Killer walk upstairs. 10 seconds later Grandma roars at Thomas for blowing up her bedroom. Grandma then walks into Thomas's bedroom. SaySay then walks downstairs to the only restroom in the house. A minute later Grandma walks outside with Thomas's $4,300 gaming laptop. Grandma then grabs fire starting materials. 1 minute later Grandma torches Thomas's laptop. A few seconds later Thomas and SaySay walk outside. 1 second later Grandma walks inside to get Killer. Thomas then grabs fire starting materials. 38 seconds later Thomas torches Grandma's $2 million Bugatti Chiron. A few seconds later Grandma strolls outside when she smells smoke. A few seconds later Grandma shouts at Thomas for the Bugatti fire. SaySay then grabs a steel sledgehammer. A few seconds later SaySay smashes Grandma's 13,000-gallon pool. 1 second later SaySay gets onto the deck as a massive flow of water flows to the street. A few seconds later SaySay walks to the street. Grandma then starts to douse the Bugatti fire. A few minutes later Thomas and SaySay walk inside. Grandma then walks away. 1 hour later Grandma looks up. 1 second later she sees a massive cloud of smoke coming from her house. Grandma then sprints home. A few minutes later Grandma arrives at the house. SaySay then tells Grandma she and Thomas torched the house. Grandma screams with pure anger. A few seconds later SaySay and Thomas get into a cab. They then speed off. 1 hour later Thomas gets out of the cab. Thomas then explains he dropped SaySay off at her house. A few seconds later Grandma rips Thomas's spine out of his back. Grandma then turns Thomas into a pretzel. 3 seconds later Thomas passes away from massive internal bleeding and 78 organ failures. The end. Conclusion. Hello there, I hope you all enjoyed this goofy story made for my friend SaySay. More stories to come. Bye fans.